Hey, I'm Emma. Welcome to Emma's Betrayal Stories now. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories aren't rushed. They're the kind you sit with. Today's story comes with an update and my own personal opinions throughout the story. Let me know in the comments if you agree or see it differently. Let's begin. I caught my sister lying about my achievements. I exposed her secrets and took the spotlight. The room was dim except for the stage lights, and my palms were damp from gripping the stem of my water glass too hard while my sister smiled into a microphone like she belonged there. Maya's always been the driven one, Sienna said, voice sweet and practiced, eyes scanning the tables. Honestly, I'm not surprised she got the promotion. I basically coached her through the whole process. Helped her write the pitch, helped her network, the usual big sister mentoring. People chuckled politely. Someone at my table murmured, that's nice. And my stomach dropped so fast it felt like I'd missed a step on a staircase. Across the table, my manager's manager, Nate, tilted his head with a faint, curious smile, like he was filing that away. Sienna lifted her champagne flute. To Maya, she said, and the sound of clinking glasses hit my ears like static. I pushed my chair back too quickly, and it scraped the floor, loud enough that a couple people turned. My cheeks burned. My throat felt tight, like I'd swallowed something sharp. Tess, my coworker, caught my eye and widened hers, a silent question. Are you okay? I wasn't. I stood there for half a second, frozen in that humiliating limbo where you can either swallow it and let it become truth, or stand up and make a scene. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips. I could smell the waxy candle centerpiece and someone's cologne. I heard Sienna's laugh, light, airy, like she was already enjoying her own version of my life. My legs moved before my brain finished deciding. I walked toward the stage, heels clicking too loud, the fabric of my dress tugging at my knees, and every step felt like I was walking into a spotlight I hadn't asked for. It was last month at my company's annual awards dinner, the kind of event with printed menus, overcooked chicken, and a photographer who catches you mid-chew if you're unlucky. I work in marketing for a mid-sized tech company, and I'd just been promoted from coordinator to campaign lead after months of putting together a proposal for a rebrand rollout, late nights, spreadsheet hell, stakeholder meetings where everyone wants fresh but no one can define it. The promotion mattered to me in a way that's hard to explain without sounding dramatic. Not because of the title, but because I'd fought for it quietly. I'd done the work. I'd earned it. And I'd done it while my sister did what she always does, hovered at the edge of my life like a narrator, ready to claim a role in any scene that made her look generous. Sienna is 2 years older than me, prettier in the effortless way that makes people forgive her sharper edges, and she's always been good at telling stories. She can turn a bad date into a 5-minute performance. She can make herself sound like the hero of a situation she barely participated in. Growing up, she was the charismatic one and I was the responsible one, which is family code for she got away with things and I got tasked with cleaning up the emotional mess. For as long as I can remember, my achievements have come with a little footnote in Sienna's voice. If I got an A, it was because she helped me study. If I got a job, it was because she gave me confidence. If I won anything, it was because she pushed me to apply. It was never overt enough for people to call it out. It was always delivered with a smile, like a compliment that just happened to reposition her as the reason behind my effort. When I got this job, Sienna told everyone she basically got me in. The truth is I found the listing, I applied, I did 3 interviews, and I negotiated my salary while sweating through my blouse in a bathroom stall beforehand. The only thing Sienna did was glance at my resume once and tell me to make it sound more powerful, which is not nothing, but it's not, I got you your career. The reason she was even at the awards dinner was because the company allowed +1s, and my boyfriend was out of town for work. My mom had begged me to take Sienna. It'll be nice, she'd said. She's your sister. And because I'm apparently still vulnerable to the idea of a normal sister relationship, I agreed. Sienna showed up in a sleek black dress, kissed my cheek like we were close, and spent the first hour networking with my coworkers like she was the one who worked there. I should have known. When she took the mic, it wasn't even part of the schedule. The host had asked if anyone wanted to say something about our newly promoted team members. Sienna's hand shot up like she'd been waiting. She walked onto that stage like she'd rehearsed it, then told a room full of my colleagues that she coached me through the process. And the worst part wasn't just that she lied. The worst part was that the lie was plausible to people who didn't know us. Because Sienna sells herself as the helpful, connected, confident older sister. And because I'm quiet at work. I don't brag. I don't correct people. I do my job and go home. So when she said it, it landed like truth. By the time I reached the stage, the host was stepping aside, smiling like this was wholesome. Sienna saw me approaching and her eyes flicked, just a fraction, like she wasn't expecting me to move. The smile stayed on her face, but it tightened. "What are you doing?" she whispered when I got close, still holding the mic. I leaned in, keeping my voice low. "Fixing it," I whispered back. She laughed lightly into the microphone like we were having a cute sister moment. "Guys, she's nervous," she joked, and people chuckled. The sound made my skin prickle. I reached for the mic. She hesitated. I felt it, her tiny resistance, then she handed it over because refusing would look bad. The mic was warm from her hand. My mouth was dry. The stage light made the room beyond it look darker than it was, like a tunnel of faces and glassware. I could feel my pulse in my ears. "I'm not nervous," I said, and my voice came out steadier than I felt. A few people laughed uncertainly. "But I do want to clarify something before this becomes the story." Sienna's smile froze. Her eyes widened slightly, warning me without words. I looked out at my table first, at Tess, who had her hand over her mouth like she was trying not to gasp. Then I looked toward Nate, who watched me carefully, expression neutral. "My sister didn't coach me through the promotion," I said. "She didn't write my pitch. She didn't network for me. She's my sister and I love her, but she wasn't part of the work." The room went quiet in that delicate way it does when people sense tension, but don't know what kind. I heard someone shift in a chair. I heard a fork clink against a plate. Sienna let out a laugh, sharp, too loud for the moment. "Maya," she said, like I was being dramatic. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes forward. "The pitch was written on my lunch breaks and weekends," I said. "It was built from our team's data. And if anyone's curious, Tess helped me review it and Rafi helped me stress test the timeline, and I'm grateful to them." Tess blinked fast, then nodded once, like she was trying not to cry or laugh. I could feel Sienna beside me, radiating anger in a way that made the hairs on my arms stand up. And I added, because the pressure in my chest was still there, I'd appreciate it if we let people own their work, especially in rooms like this. There was a pause. Then someone, bless them, started clapping. It wasn't roaring applause. It was hesitant at first, then it spread. Not everyone joined. Some people looked down at their plates like they'd rather disappear. But enough people clapped that it softened the moment. I handed the mic back to the host. My hands were shaking so subtly, I could only feel it in my fingertips. I stepped off the stage without looking at Sienna again. She followed me immediately, heels clicking fast, grabbing my elbow the moment we reached the side corridor near the bathrooms. Her nails dug into my skin. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she hissed. I yanked my arm away, rubbing the spot like it burned. "Don't touch me," I snapped, and my voice echoed slightly off the tiled wall. "You embarrass me in front of everyone," she said, eyes bright with fury. "You embarrassed me," I said, and the words came out quieter than her rage, but heavier. "You lied. In front of my boss." Sienna scoffed. "It was a compliment," she said. "I was hyping you up." "No," I said. "You were hyping yourself up." Her face twisted. "You're always so sensitive," she said, like she was reaching for an old, reliable label. "God, you can't just accept support." "Support isn't rewriting my life," I said. Sienna leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You just made yourself look ungrateful," she whispered. "You know how you came across? Like a little brat." Something in me snapped, not in a screaming way. in a tired way, like a thread finally giving up. I don't care how I came across, I said. I care that my manager now thinks I needed you to get promoted. Sienna's eyes flashed. He won't think that, she said. No one thinks that. You're overreacting.
Især det her.
You really believe your own stuff, I said softly. She opened her mouth, then shut it, like she couldn't decide whether to attack or charm. Finally she said, "Whatever. I was trying to be nice." Then she walked back into the room like she hadn't just dug her nails into my skin. I went to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall. My hands were shaking properly now. I sat on the closed toilet lid, stared at the pattern of the floor tiles, and tried to slow my breathing. I could hear muffled laughter from the dinner through the wall, and it made me feel like I was underwater. When I finally came out, Tess was waiting by the sink. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "That was wow." I laughed once, weak. "Yeah," I said. Tess touched my arm lightly. "For what it's worth," she said. Nate looked impressed. Like, not in a weird way. In a she's not a pushover way. I swallowed. "Great," I muttered. "I love being perceived." Tess smiled faintly. "I mean it," she said. "You did the work. It's yours." I nodded, throat tight. "Thank you," I said, and I meant it more than I could explain. I went back to the table, sat down, and tried to eat a bite of chicken that tasted like paper. Sienna acted normal. Too normal. She laughed at jokes, leaned in to talk to people, avoided my eyes like I was a stranger. After dinner, in the car, she didn't speak for the first 5 minutes. The city lights slid across the windshield in soft bands. The air smelled like her perfume and the stale scent of the banquet hall. Then she said flatly, "You owe me an apology." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "No," I said. Sienna's head snapped toward me. "Excuse me? I'm not apologizing for correcting a lie," I said. She laughed, bitter. "You think you're so righteous," she said. "You always have. You always want to be the good one." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. "I want to be the accurate one," I said. Sienna stared out the window, jaw working. "You know what?" she said.
Fine.
"If you want to play that game, let's play it." My stomach sank. "What does that mean?" She smiled without warmth. "It means I'm done cheering for you," she said. I dropped her off and drove home with my hands shaking again, not from fear of her words, but because I realized, finally, that my sister didn't see my success as something to celebrate. She saw it as a stage she deserved to stand on too. And if she couldn't stand there, she'd rather burn the whole thing down. This is where I'm going to pause the story midway, because what happened next was the part where I stopped just defending my achievements and started deciding what I was willing to expose. Sienna isn't just a little jealous. She's practiced. She's built a whole personality around being the narrator of other people's lives because it keeps her relevant without requiring her to do the hard, quiet work. The thing about her lie at the awards dinner is it wasn't random. It was targeted. She said it in front of my boss on purpose, because if she can wedge herself into my professional story, she can always claim a share of anything good that happens to me. And her reaction afterward tells you everything. She wasn't ashamed. She was angry that I refused to play the role of grateful little sister. My parents are a whole separate problem because they've basically trained her to behave this way by treating her as the sparkly one and me as the steady one. Steady becomes code for, "You'll handle it." And I hate how long it took me to stop letting that dynamic run my life. I also hate that I felt guilty for correcting her lie, like truth is rude if it inconveniences someone. That's the family conditioning showing up. But the bigger thing I see here is that Sienna doesn't respect me. She respects outcomes. If I'm winning, she wants to be near it. If she can't be near it, she wants to make it look smaller. It's not sisterhood. It's branding. And honestly, the most satisfying part of that stage moment wasn't embarrassing her. It was watching people's faces shift when they realized I wasn't going to let someone else narrate my work. Sometimes the spotlight isn't attention. Sometimes it's simply refusing to be edited out of your own story. Update. So, I didn't plan to expose anything. I went home that night telling myself, I corrected the lie. It's done. Don't escalate. Be mature. Go to work tomorrow, act normal. Let it fade. But Sienna didn't let it fade. The next morning, I woke up to 3 texts from my mom. Did something happen last night? Sienna is devastated. Please call me. Then my phone buzzed with a notification from LinkedIn. Someone had tagged me in a post. I opened it half asleep, and my stomach turned. Sienna had posted a long, shiny paragraph about mentoring my little sister into a leadership role and how watching her blossom was the greatest reward. She posted a photo from the dinner, me on stage, mid-sentence, mic in hand, cropped so you couldn't see my expression. The comments were full of, "You're such a great sister," and "Love seeing women support women," and "You're an amazing mentor." People I work with had liked it. One of Nate's peers had commented, "Proud moment." I sat up in bed, so fast I got dizzy. The sheet stuck to my legs. My heart started doing that hollow pounding thing. I texted Sienna, "Take it down." She replied within a minute, "It's a compliment. Don't be weird." I called her. She didn't answer. I called again. No answer. I went to work with my jaw clenched, so hard my temples hurt. Tess saw my face and said, "Oh no," like she knew before I spoke. "It's on LinkedIn," I said. Tess's eyebrows shot up. "She's doubling down?" "She's building a shrine," I muttered. At lunch, I tried the calm approach. I texted Sienna, "You told a lie publicly." I corrected it. "You posted the lie anyway. If you don't remove it, I will comment publicly correcting it." She replied, "If you embarrass me again, I'll tell everyone what you're really like." My hands went cold. What I'm really like. I stared at the screen, feeling that familiar family panic, like I'd done something wrong by standing up for myself. I didn't respond. I took a walk around the block, the kind where you pretend you're clearing your head, but really you're trying not to cry in public. The air was sharp. My eyes stung. When I got back, there was an email from HR. "Hi Maya, just a quick note. Someone has reached out offering consulting services related to our internal promotion process. Can you confirm whether this person has any formal relationship with the company?" My stomach dropped through the floor. Sienna had emailed my company. She was using my promotion as a sales pitch. I sat at my desk staring at the email until the words stopped making sense. My chest felt tight. My ears rang faintly. I could hear the click-click of keyboards around me. Normal life happening while mine tried to catch fire. I forwarded the email to Tess and typed, "She contacted HR." Tess replied, "Oh my God. You need to talk to Nate.
Now."
I went to Nate's office and knocked with my fingers shaking. When he looked up, I could see the same calm professionalism I'd always admired, and I hated that I was bringing personal chaos into his day. "Do you have a minute?" I asked. He gestured to the chair.
"Sure."
"What's up?" I shut the door softly and sat down. My mouth was dry. "My sister reached out to HR," I said. "She's implying she consults for the company." "She doesn't." Nate's expression shifted, subtle, but there. "Okay," he said. "That's unusual." I corrected her at the dinner because she lied, I said, and my voice trembled, which made me angry at my own body. Now she's doubling down publicly and trying to attach herself to my promotion. Nate leaned back slightly. He didn't look annoyed. He looked thoughtful, like he was assessing risk. "Did you ask her to stop?" "Yes," I said. She refused. He nodded slowly. "All right," he said. "We'll handle the HR piece. But for your own sake, document everything." I left his office feeling both relieved and sick. Because document everything is what you say when you realize someone is willing to burn you to feel important. That night, I drove to my mom's house because she'd been calling nonstop, and I needed to get ahead of whatever narrative Sienna was feeding them. The porch light was too bright. The air smelled like cut grass. My mom opened the door with puffy eyes and immediately said, "Why are you doing this to your sister?"
I ser det her.
"Doing what?" I asked. "Making her look like a liar," she said, voice shaking. "In public." "She is lying," I said. My dad walked in from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a dish towel, face stern.
We saw the post, he said.
Why can't you just let her be proud of you? Because it's not pride, I wanted to scream. It's theft. Instead I said, she emailed my company pretending to be associated with it. My mom blinked rapidly.
No, she said.
She wouldn't do that. She did, I said, and I pulled out my phone and showed them the HR email. My dad's jaw tightened. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. She's just trying to start something, Mom whispered, like that softened it. At my expense, I said. Mom shook her head, overwhelmed. Your sisters, she said. This is what sisters do. No, I said, and my voice cracked. This is what you taught her she can do. That landed like a slap. My mom's eyes narrowed, wounded. My dad's face hardened. Then Sienna walked in from the hallway, like she'd been waiting. She was wearing leggings and an oversized sweater, hair in a messy bun like she was the innocent one in a domestic scene. Oh, she said lightly. Are we doing an ambush? I turned to her. Take it down, I said. Stop contacting my work. Sienna's eyes glittered. I didn't contact your work, she said smoothly. I contacted HR. That's different. My dad snapped. Sienna? She held up her hands. What? She said. I'm building a brand. Maya's success is a great case study. People love mentorship stories. I felt my hands curl into fists. I'm not your case study, I said. Sienna smiled. You're acting like I stole something, she said. You did, I said. You stole credit. You stole narrative. Now you're trying to steal proximity. Mom started crying softly. Dad looked like he wanted to shout, but didn't know who to shout at. Sienna tilted her head. Okay, she said. If you want receipts, let's do receipts. Then she did something I didn't expect. She pulled out her phone and opened a folder of screenshots. My stomach tightened. She flipped her screen toward my parents. Look, she said, voice suddenly emotional. Maya texts me all the time asking for advice. Maya sends me drafts. Maya calls me when she's stressed. I helped her. She just doesn't want anyone to know she needs help. My cheeks went hot. The screenshots were real but cropped. Messages taken out of context. Can you read this over? Turned into, I need you. Thanks for listening turned into, you guided me. My dad looked at me like he was seeing a version of me he didn't like, weak, dependent, dishonest. I realized then what Sienna had been doing for years, collecting moments where I was human and using them as proof she was essential. My hands shook as I reached into my own purse and pulled out my laptop. I hadn't planned to, but I'd started documenting. Screenshots, emails, a folder labeled Sienna. Because Nate's advice wasn't just professional, it was survival. I opened my laptop at the dining table, the same table where I'd eaten birthday cake and studied for exams, and I pulled up an email thread. Sienna, I said quietly, do you want receipts? Her smile faltered. I turned the screen so my parents could see. This is the pitch, I said. The one she claimed she wrote. I scrolled to the top. It had version history. Dates. My name. Tessa's comments. Rafi's feedback. Then I opened another tab. Sienna's own blog post from last year, where she'd copied entire paragraphs from a popular career coach's article. Word for word. I'd noticed it ages ago and saved it because it made me uneasy. Then I opened the last thing, the thing that made my stomach twist even as I used it. A DM thread between Sienna and a woman named Brooke. Brooke ran a small coaching platform Sienna had been trying to join. In the DMs, Sienna had sent Brooke my work screenshots, my campaign performance results, and claimed they were her mentees' outcomes, using them to prove her mentorship methods. Sienna had been selling my achievements. I watched my mom's face change as she read. Confusion to disbelief to something like grief. My dad's eyes narrowed at the screen. Sienna, he said slowly, is this true? Sienna's mouth opened, then shut. For a second she looked small like a kid caught stealing. Then her face hardened. So what? She snapped. It's marketing. I felt something go cold and steady in me. There it is, I said. That's what you think this is. Marketing. That's the update. It blew up. My parents finally saw it. Sienna finally stopped pretending. Now I'll finish. Back to the story. My dad asked Sienna to leave the room. She refused. My mum cried harder. The house felt tight, like the walls were listening. I stood up, palms flat on the table, and said, "I'm not doing this anymore." Sienna rolled her eyes. "Oh my God," she said. Here comes the martyr speech. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "You will not use my name or my work again. You will remove the LinkedIn post. You will email HR and clarify you have no relationship with my company. And if you don't, I will do it publicly and I will include the screenshots you just saw." My mum made a small choking sound. My dad stared at Sienna like he didn't recognize her. Sienna's face flushed. "You wouldn't," she said. "I will," I said, "because you already did." For a moment, I saw the calculation in her eyes. Pride versus damage control. She hated me for putting her in that position, but she also couldn't risk losing the image she'd built. She stormed out, slamming doors, loud footsteps, the whole performance. My mum clutched her chest like she was having a physical reaction. "I don't understand," she whispered. I felt tired down to my bones. "You don't have to understand," I said gently. "You just have to stop asking me to accept it." The next day, Sienna took down the LinkedIn post. She posted a vague apology about miscommunication and celebrating my sister badly. She emailed HR something short and stiff. "I am not affiliated with your company." My message was personal. HR replied with a polite, "Thank you for clarifying." At work, Nate didn't bring it up publicly, but he stopped by my desk and said quietly, "Handled. You okay?" I nodded, and for the first time I meant it. Sienna didn't speak to me for weeks. My mum tried to smooth it over. My dad stayed quiet, but stopped defending her. The family dynamic didn't magically fix itself, but something shifted. The lie no longer had oxygen. 2 months later, at a team meeting, Nate announced a new initiative based on my pitch, my actual pitch. And he gave credit clearly. My name was on the slide. My work was mine in a room that mattered. Sienna found out, of course. She messaged me, "Congrats. No apology. No ownership." Just a crumb, tossed like she was being generous. I didn't reply, because the spotlight I took wasn't applause. It was control of my own story. And once you've had that, going back to silence feels like lying to yourself. Sienna is the kind of person who doesn't steal your achievements outright. She annexes them. She plants a flag in the story, and then acts offended when you point out it's not her land. The most irritating part is how she wraps it in support, because it makes you look petty if you resist. But support that requires you to shrink so the other person can feel big isn't support. It's a transaction. She wanted to be perceived as influential more than she wanted me to be respected, and the minute I corrected her, she tried to punish me by escalating the lie on LinkedIn and then sliding into my workplace like she had a right to be there. That's not sibling rivalry. That's someone building an identity out of proximity to other people's success. My parents are the reason she got comfortable doing it. They rewarded charisma and punished discomfort. They taught her that if she cried or got angry, the room would rearrange itself around her feelings. They taught me that being mature meant absorbing disrespect quietly. It took a public lie in front of my boss for me to finally see how dangerous that dynamic is, because it doesn't just hurt your feelings, it can actually damage your credibility. Tess and Nate deserve medals for being sane adults about it. They didn't treat it like drama. They treated it like what it was. A threat to professional boundaries. And me? I'm proud I didn't scream. I'm proud I didn't let guilt talk me into silence. I'm also proud I used receipts instead of insults, because receipts don't rely on tone. They just sit there and tell the truth. Do I feel a little grimy about exposing her plagiarism and her DMs? Yes. I don't love that it came to that. But here's the thing. Sienna chose the battlefield. She chose to make my promotion a marketing tool. She chose to contact HR. She chose to try and turn my career into her brand content. And when someone's willing to climb on your back publicly, sometimes the only way to get them off is to stand up in full view and make it impossible for them to pretend they're helping you. If Sienna wants to be a real mentor, she can start by building her own achievements instead of harvesting mine. And if my parents want peace, they can learn the difference between keeping the peace and keeping one daughter comfortable by sacrificing the other. Because peace that depends on one person staying quiet is just control with nicer packaging.